Some of the items we will need for this project are 91% isopropyl alcohol, some cotton rounds or wipes, a Phillips screwdriver, and of course some thermal paste. The video card for this project is an ATI Radeon HD 4650, which is about 7 years old as of the making of this video. On the flip side, it has 4 screws, and we need to remove these in a diagonal pattern so as not to put stress on the chip. These screw heads do have springs on them, so make sure that you keep them together. Now we flip the board over, and there's nothing else to remove. There is a power connection, but no need to remove that, as if the paste is pretty dry, the heat exchanger will separate from the die rather quickly. As you can see here, it's kind of chunky. They put on a lot. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it off of both the die and the heat exchanger, and we'll start off with the heat exchanger. Just take one of the cotton rounds or a wipe, dab it with some alcohol, and then you're going to have to rub kind of hard because there's a lot of paste there to get it off, but then it breaks up very easy. By the way, if you only have regular rubbing alcohol, that'll work. 91 just works a lot faster, leaves less residue behind, and dries a lot quicker. So we got most of the gunk off. We're going to do another wipe. See if we can get a little bit more of the residue off. It's nice always to have a nice clean surface for the new thermal paste to bond to. And the purpose of the thermal paste is to eliminate the air gap between the heat exchanger and the surface of the chip, thereby increasing the heat transfer between those two items. So that's now clean. We move that out of the way. And now we're going to gently clean the chip. And there are lots of little nubs all around there. And so we don't want to be vigorous and damage anything on the board. And the alcohol will quickly cut through what paste is there. And in a bit, you'll see actually the shiny surface of the die and some information on their brand and some numbers. Again, we're being careful. You notice that in the manufacturing process, they put a lot of thermal paste, so it went over the sides. And while I'm trying to get a little bit of that off, I'm not going to try to gouge it out. Now we can look and see the surface of the GPU. And it's mirror-like in quality when it's actually clean, and there's all the info on the die. So now what we're going to do is take the thermal paste, and we don't apply it to the heat exchanger, we apply it right to the GPU die. And this is a no-name paste. Let's face it, folks, this GPU is 7+ years old, and it's not high performance, so it doesn't need to be your high-end paste. So we put about a pea-size mound of it. Now there are no guides except for the 4 screws. So we align the surface as best we can following the diagram on the board, on the little motherboard. And we place it down. And then we're going to flip the board over and align our holes and diagonally screw in all the screws. And initially I will place these by hand and then drive them home with the Phillips screwdriver. It's rather difficult to do this with the gloves on, so I finally had to resort to the Phillips. Once the screws are as snug as when you first took them off, we can flip the board over and just do a visual inspection, make sure everything is good. A very simple do-it-yourself procedure. Then we're ready to reinstall it back into the computer.